Back when I was in the church, I was taught that Jehovah was the one and only true God and that all others were false gods. False gods as in fake, as in opposed to God, anti-God, anti-Christ. There's a story in the Bible in 1 Samuel chapter 5 about the Christian God and the deity of the Philistines, Dagon. Here's the story. After the Philistines captured the Ark of the Covenant, they carried it back to Dagon's temple and set the ark beside a statue of Dagon. When they returned the next morning, they saw that the statue had fallen over and was laying before the ark. They picked it up, returned it to its previous position, and they left. When they returned the next day, however, they found the statue once again laying on the ground before the ark, but this time its arms and head had been broken off. Now that's a peculiar story, right? But what is it telling us? It's telling us how the Christian God feels about these so-called other gods. He was absolutely disgusted and insulted to have this false deity stand beside him as if it were an actual God. There's only one God, and it's not Dagon. But this is no surprise to us, right? The Bible tells us that God is a jealous God, and even one of the 10 commandments state that thou shalt have no other gods before me. So we can clearly see how the Christian God feels about false gods. Now this brings me to Lucifer. In Christianity, Lucifer is the supposed evil force that first opposed God. He is the father of evil, the father of sin. His purpose is to kill, steal, and destroy. He is Antichrist. But nowhere in the Bible does it describe Lucifer as having any ounce of good in him. His purpose is to pervert everything God has created. He is a false god, and he actually has followers, the Luciferians and the Satanists. But what about other gods worshipped throughout the earth? According to Christian beliefs, these gods are false gods as well, or demons. There is only one true God, right? Jehovah, right? Well, these other gods have millions of followers who speak on their works, namely miracles. But wait a minute. If the Christian God is the only true God, then he would be the only God who can perform these so-called miracles. False gods are demons masquerading as beings of light because they desire to be worshipped and to ultimately lead people away from Christ. These demons are anti-Christ, therefore they are opposite him. They behave in ways that oppose God. So if God blesses his people with great miracles, then logically we can assume that false gods do not. How is it so that other religions outside of Christianity speak of miracles performed by their own gods? Demons can't bless people. They cannot heal people or perform splendid miracles, signs, and wonders for the betterment of humanity. It's contrary to their nature according to Scripture. Yes, they can manipulate and deceive, but not through wonderful works. That would make them like God when they are supposed to be anti-God. Curious, I perused the internet for more on this subject, and I found so many forums discussing the miraculous works of Allah, Krishna, and many other gods. I was astonished. There are people all throughout the internet sharing their experiences of miracle signs and wonders from their own gods, and I wanted to share a few of them. This one story comes from a Muslim woman in Uganda, Africa. She says that while she was in school at the Islamic Institute in Uganda, they had spent months dealing with a brutal drought. This drought was so intense that neighboring farms began shutting down and the prices of food began to skyrocket. She said temperatures were as high as 104 degrees Fahrenheit. She also talked about how farmers began selling their livestock because they could no longer afford to take care of them due to the financial stress caused by the drought. So they called a countrywide prayer. She said one morning, the community gathered together and began to pray for rain. Then suddenly, the clouds began to swell and the wind started to blow. She said when they completed their prayer, rain began to fall so heavily that they canceled the remainder of classes for the day. She said she just stood there and stared at the sky with tears in her eyes, joyful that Allah had answered their prayers. Here's another testimony from a Muslim woman. She said it was extremely hard for her to get pregnant because of some hormonal disbalance. She said she and her husband prayed for twins, a boy and a girl, knowing that it was almost impossible. However, less than a year later, she said they received twins, a boy and a girl, exactly what they had prayed for from Allah. Here's one more testimony, but this one is from a believer of Hinduism. He says his father worked all the time and things were rough for them financially. This one particular morning, he said his father went to catch the bus to work, but didn't have enough money for the ticket. But he got on the bus anyway. As the bus attendant approached him to collect the money, the father told him he didn't have enough. Before he could finish explaining his situation, a voice from the very back of the crowded bus yelled out that he would pay for the ticket. Grateful, the father turned around to see who it was, but couldn't really see through the dense crowd. When the attendant returned, the father asked who had paid his ticket. But as the attendant turned around to point out the gentleman who had paid, he saw that his seat was empty. The man had vanished. The father believes this to have been a miracle from his god, Krishna. Now, these are very interesting stories. In the Black church, you would hear testimonies like this all the time. It's weird, right? But how do we make sense of this, though? In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 39, God says, "There is no God beside me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. I wound and I heal." The Christian God is telling us that all other deities are false gods and only He has the power to heal. So is it Jehovah performing these miracles throughout these different religions? Christians say yes. Christians believe that demons cannot perform miraculous healings because there is no evidence in Scripture to corroborate that. This paints a problem, though. Why would a self-proclaimed jealous God allow other gods to be worshipped for His own miracles? That's not the God of the Bible. Remember, this is a God that broke a statue of a false deity just because it was sitting next to Him. So you mean to tell me a Muslim can pray for something miraculous from Allah and the Christian God will answer that prayer and allow Allah to receive the praises? This is not the character of the biblical God, not even close. So maybe Allah, Krishna, and Jehovah are all the same God, but He just goes by different names. No? Maybe Allah and Krishna are both real, and Jehovah and his followers just don't want to admit it. Nah, here's what I think. I think crazy, unexplainable things happen every single day. People can have their cancer disappear, escape certain death, or even luck out and win $1 million. All of these things can happen whether you pray for them or not. I believe we live in a world of random occurrences. There are no gods performing miracles. There are no demons or devils hunting to deceive and destroy you. We have the power to make our prayers come true. You don't need an imaginary man in the sky to make things happen in your life. Just get up, apply yourself, and do what it takes to accomplish it. Thanks for watching.